Hello and welcome back to Leicester Fan TV for episode 3 of the Championship Chat. What a week it's been. Football is officially back. We had obviously game week 1 of the Championship on the weekend. We had some Carabao Cup action as well, which both of our teams, we both won and progressed through to the next round.
Easy, mate. Easy.
Yeah, Leeds made it look a little bit harder to start with.
It was a bit of a laugh. Made it interesting for a laugh, It's just what we do.
I had to double check that you weren't wearing a Burton Albion shirt, actually, just from the colours. But no, it is Ferrari, isn't it?
Yeah, we go for pain, mate. We support Leeds and we support Ferrari. We know pain.
As everyone will notice, obviously we're not just the two of us today. Just the two of us. I hope that's not copyrighted. Chris can't make it, unfortunately, but he'll be back next week, along with Brad, who hasn't been here since the first episode. So he'll be back. So there'll be 4 of us, hopefully, next week. We've got a few fixtures to go through today. Obviously, Leeds and Leicester fixtures are there as well. But before I start, Oscar, mate, obviously, like I said, football's back. Are you happy? Obviously, it wasn't great. It wasn't perfect for you guys last weekend, but are you happy it's back?
Not so much first 45 minutes on Sunday. I can't say I was happy it was back. I was kind of counting down until it was over, to be honest. But no, good fight back, to be fair. But not good enough for that result, though, against Cardiff. No disrespect to Cardiff, but they drew 2-2 with Colchester last night. I mean, that was a pretty shocking one, really, for us to start with. Yes, I know it's a championship. You're going to get bumps in the road. I think we'll all get bumps in the road at some point, but that's a bad way to start. Especially the goals we conceded. We didn't play too badly. It was quite entertaining to watch, but I think we can still go up another gear. I just still think what I thought last week, to be honest. I think Leicester and Southampton have just got another gear ahead of us. Even at our maximum, I just think Leicester and Southampton feel to me like the top 2. It feels premature to say it, but it feels to me like already. I just think the quality gap is so big between those 2 and the rest of the league.
There's a nice one from Joe, mate. We'll quickly say, obviously discussed it, Oscar, 15 minutes ago, Joe Rodon was announced by Leeds. Obviously, I think you guys have known for a few days now that was probably going to be happening, but it's a loan. I don't know if it's like an option to buy or something at the end of it or something like that, but are you happy with that one? Obviously, you're a bit light, aren't you, at the minute? So any signing really is probably welcome.
Yeah, happy with it. The fact he can play on the right and the left of the back 4. He's got championship experience. He's performed really well at this level with Swansea, so much so that he got his move to Tottenham in the first place off the back of his spell at Swansea. Bielsa wanted him at one point. Bielsa wanted him at one point, I think in 2020, 2021. So there's clearly a lot to like about Joe Rodon. I think stylistically he suits us as well. I personally think Cresswell and Rodon can work really well as a pairing. I think a lot of people are saying Rodon and Sturridge, but I think Cresswell's been a lot better than Sturridge so far this season. I think he's the better defender as well. Not necessarily the better footballer. Sturridge's more technical, but I think we just need the way we play. We're looking to press. We're looking to be dominant. I think you need that dominance in the air, and I think Cresswell and Rodon tick a lot of boxes as a pairing. But even if it is Rodon and Sturridge, I think it will help Sturridge. So whatever pairing it is, it works. There's no doubt he is the number 1 defender already, and he's only just turned up. I could even see him starting against Birmingham, to be honest. It would not surprise me if he starts that game.
Yeah, mate. You know what? I'm finding it so weird, though, my mentality this season. Obviously, we always obviously have the beef, me and Joe, in the group chat and stuff. But, I'm finding myself, every time I hear, a Leeds player leaving, asking to leave, or a rumor of a Southampton player leaving, I'm celebrating it, mate. I'm yes, every little helps. Are you like that? If let's say Iheanacho leaves Leicester, are you thinking that's really good for us, or are you just not that bothered?
Yeah, certain players you think, oh, that's massive. But I think the James Ward-Prowse one, I wasn't that bothered about, for Southampton, because they've got Shea Charles who just signed, for that eventuality. I think Southampton were a little bit surprised that James Ward-Prowse hadn't left before the season even started, to be honest. But yeah, there's certain players. I think the depth both Leicester and Southampton have got is so big. It doesn't really matter unless they lose someone like an Iheanacho from Leicester, because I think he's top scorer in the Championship this season, potentially. Certainly looking at the service that you got into him against Burton. Yes, I know it's only Burton.
Yeah.
But I thought when he came on for Vardy, having not seen a lot of that game, he did seem to make a good impact against Coventry as well. So he just seems quite well suited to Maresca ball. He's already shown at Premier League level that he's a decent striker. He's a decent striker at that level.
Yeah.
Normally you see it translate pretty well to this level. Southampton is more if they lose, like a Nathan Teller, a lot of output from out wide, or someone like that. I think would be pretty crucial for Southampton. But ultimately, I think Leeds have got the biggest problem if they lose any star players. They have got the biggest problem because they haven't got a lot of depth behind it. If we lost to Sinistera or Winonto, as it looks like he's going, that's going to affect us a lot more than Leicester and Southampton, I feel, because I think we're a lot more reliant on those players to carry the team than what Southampton and Leicester are, to be honest.
Yeah, Joe says you sounded like Gary Lineker here, mate. So
is that the sound?
I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe. You sound all right, mate. You sound, to be fair, you sound like you've got a little bit of a cold, so I don't know if that's the mic.
I have got a bit of a cold, to be fair. Yeah.
Maybe that's right. All right then. Well, let's get on to the fixture. I'll tell you what, Oscar, as well. I know you're a big Messi fan. I was just on Twitter. This is going on a bit of a tangent. I was just on Twitter. Somebody's put together a Twitter video of every single Messi goal in his whole career.
I think yes. I've heard about this.
It's banging, mate. So, but
I'm accused of a Leicester fan. That's why. That's what Wayman's getting at. Oh, come on, Wayman. Leicester are ahead of us at this moment in time. If we cook, to be fair, and get Hamer and Perot, I will drastically change my mind. But I can't look at the start of the season and say we're going toe to toe at the minute with Leicester. I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong. But I think we will be up there. But I just think top two were too short. We've got the managers to get us into the top two, but we're too short quality-wise, I personally think.
I knew Joe would be in the comments because obviously bipolar Joe, obviously Leeds have just announced to sign in, so obviously he's going to be buzzing. So
and that helps us, by the way. That does help us.
2 days, non-to Leeds, and he's crying again, so it's fine with me. But no, I see what you mean, mate. Right, let's move on to the fixtures. So we're starting with Coventry, Middlesbrough. So that's the first one we're going to discuss. Obviously, Coventry, mate, did quite well against Leicester, if I'm honest with you. Went toe to toe with us, I would say, for most of the game. I've just seen Joe. Went toe to toe with Leicester and Middlesbrough. Lost to Millwall. I don't know if any of us predicted that last week. But what are your thoughts going into this one? Who do you see? I mean, Coventry, they just can't. None of their forwards, mate. They just can't seem to score at the minute.
Yeah, that's true. I think for both teams, I think that's the truth. I think Middlesbrough are definitely missing Akpom and Archer, obviously, who's not come back from Villa. I'm hoping we can get something with Cameron Archer, to be honest. But yeah, it's definitely both teams. I think create a lot of chances, especially Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough looks like they dominated large spells that game against Millwall. But yeah, I've got a feeling of a draw here. It's a repeat of the playoff semi-final. It was a tight game over both legs. I think both games last season in the league were quite tight. I'm thinking like a 1-1, but I think it'll be a decent game, that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was obviously I'm never going to say, Coventry deserved to beat us, but it was quite obvious that they could have won it, and they probably should have won it. Like I said, going back to the strike. I mean, Ellis Sims as well didn't really have a very good game. I can't remember the lad up front. I can't remember who it was. I'll tell you now because I've got the lineup here. Not up front. Attacking midfield. Palmer. Is it?
Oh yeah, Casey Palmer.
Yeah, a couple of chances. I'd say took the wrong decisions. So yeah, but I think against Middlesbrough, I have Coventry to finish in the playoffs this year, mate. I do.
I have both to finish in the playoffs, to be honest. I think it wouldn't surprise me if this is sort of 5th versus 4th. I think that's how. I had Coventry 6th, Middlesbrough 4th on the predictions, but yeah, I still think they will. I think despite both losing, I think they're both over the season. They've got good managers. Yeah, I think obviously Mark Robbins is an experienced head at this level. Michael Carrick made a big impact as well. Yeah.
And quite a lot of people have had Middlesbrough to finish second, mate, in the automatics. I've seen.
Again, I think they're short. I do think they're a bit short of second. Quite a bit short of second, really. Yeah. I think this season, really, you've got two really strong teams. Who are well set. Normally, it's only one. Like last season, it was only really Burnley who were fully set, kind of thing. I think this season, I think it's gone up another level. I think, say for example, Sheffield United of last season, I think wouldn't get top 2 this season. For example, I think they're probably around where kind of Leeds and maybe Middlesbrough are at this moment in time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I've gone 1-1 for this one. What did you give me a score?
Yeah, 1-1 as well.
Okay, 1-1, 2-1-1. So yeah, I will quickly show as well because I forgot to say it at the start. Obviously, we did our predictions last week for those for a select fixtures, 6 fixtures. We were awarding 1 point for the correct result and 3 points for the correct score. And these are the scores. This is the leaderboard so far after the first week. So obviously Oscar is leading with 5 points. And then obviously everyone else is tied on 4. So you didn't do too bad, mate. You didn't do too bad.
Not bad. I mean, it's a championship, isn't it? I mean, I didn't think I'd be leading it on that many points, but it's a championship, isn't it? And anything can happen, as we always say.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is only 1 correct score and 2 correct results, but it's not good. That out of 6 fixtures, that's not.
That's it. That's a championship, though, isn't it? It's what makes it the most entertaining in the league, league in the world. But not when you're involved in it. It's a horrible league to be involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the next fixture, you can give us some insight into one of these teams, Oscar. Obviously, it's Cardiff versus QPR. QPR look like they're honking, and I saw a couple of bits today saying, I think Ainsworth came out and said they're only expecting 1 or 2 more signings before the window closes. And they might, maybe not, but they might just miss. They might just lose Illis Chair potentially to a club. You don't know. We don't know yet. I'd take him at Leicester, absolutely. I don't know if you take him at Leeds.
Oh yeah. No doubt about it, mate.
So they could lose him. So I mean, let's start with Coventry, mate. Tell me a little bit about obviously how you see them facing it up against QPR.
Well, Cardiff QPR. So I think I think Cardiff weren't great. I'm not going to lie to you. Not just because I'm being biased and that lot. That I just genuinely don't think Cardiff were that good. Defensively, they were fine. I see them keeping the clean sheet here. I just think QPR. I had a text from a mate in London who went to the Watford QPR game as a neutral as well. So just bear that in mind as well. In the Watford end as a neutral, and said that's the worst team he's ever seen in the Championship. He genuinely thinks they were that bad they could break a Championship points record, kind of bad. They just could not pass a ball. They literally kicked the ball out of play like 5 or 6 times in the first half, kind of thing. Just kicked it straight out of play under no pressure. And it was an onslaught, and Watford weren't that great themselves, so it shows how bad QPR kind of were. But we've seen this before in the Championship, where a team has had an absolute stinker in the first game of the season and then kind of started to slowly pull it round. It's almost like that wake-up call. I'm not sure about it with QPR, though. I think they're on 2 wins in 28, I think, since the back end of last season. Well, the middle of last season. That is unbelievably bad. Genuinely unbelievably bad, that. I'm going to say 2-0 Cardiff. I think it'd be a relatively routine win for Cardiff. I don't know if they've got the attacking prowess to batter QPR, but it wouldn't surprise me either. But I see a clean sheet from Cardiff. I think defensively they look fine. And that if they are going to move up the table from where they were last season, ultimately almost when it got relegated, it'll be that defence that does it. Aaron Ramsey, I was disappointed with on Sunday. I wasn't disappointed as a Leeds fan. He was well off it, really, to be honest. Certainly physically, didn't seem at it at all in that game.
I'm not copying you just to try and draw with you this week. I have also gone Cardiff 2-0. I mean, how many points do you see them getting, QPR? Like, as it stands, you'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if they break 15, mate. I'd be surprised if they hit 15.
I don't know that 15.
As it stands with their current squad.
As it stands, yeah. I mean, 2 wins from 28 wouldn't be too over a season. If you put that over a season, that's like 3 wins in a season, maybe a little bit more. Say 3 wins, that's 9 points. Yeah, possible. I don't know. 15 seems low. 15.
Well, so I don't know what the record is. What is? Do we know the record?
If someone can let us know in the chat, maybe what the record is. I might even Google it, but. I don't think it'll be as low as 15. I have a funny feeling Rotherham had a really terrible season. Blackpool did as well when the Oysters were there.
Rotherham, 18 points. 18 points.
What year?
I've just lost it now, mate.
I think I remember that.
Here we go. It was 2016-17. 16,
Wow,
17.
18 points.
18 points.
Possible. I don't know. I didn't think it'd be that low. In the Championship, I thought even if you're terrible, it's still relatively competitive.
46 games. 46 games as well.
Yeah, one point every 2 games. Possible. It's possible. But yeah, if they lose Elias Chair, then they've lost all the creativity and they can't defend, and they've lost Rob Dickey. They got people like Willock as well there. They would be in big, big trouble. I don't even know if it's a Gareth Ainsworth problem, because I think they built the squad now around Gareth Ainsworth's style, which is very direct, very up and at them. They're not going to suddenly be able to play really expansive football with that squad. So, yeah, they are in big, big trouble.
Is this the same ownership that they had in the Premier League, or is it a different ownership?
It's weird QPR ownership. I think it was Tony Fernandez. I think he's been involved for a long time, but I think he stepped away. But I think I'm not sure if it's the same ownership, but I think the same people are running the club. So, like, say, chairman, chief executive, I think that's the same. It's, I think the thing with QPR is to try and really build local, in terms of the fact that they're from the academy and upwards. They don't really tend to spend much money since the Premier League. Obviously, they used to spend money like there was no tomorrow, and that's kind of still caught up with them for the last 10 years, really. But yeah, as far as I know, it's the same ownership. But yeah, I would not be surprised if QPR break that record. I cannot believe it's as low as 18 points, though. That is staggeringly bad.
Yeah, I think the promoted team from League One will be looking at it, thinking, well, it's an extra team that might be down there, in the bottom 3. So
yeah, exactly.
Gives them a helping hand. But yeah, 2-0, both of us gone 2-0 Cardiff for that one. Next up, mate, Birmingham Leeds. So obviously this is hopefully for you and Joe in the chat, Leeds' first win. Hopefully it'll be Leeds' first win of the season in the league, should I say. I know there's only been one game, but you know what I'm saying. Confident, mate, going into this one. Are you excited for it? Are you thinking Roden slot straight in?
I think Roden could start the game. I'm not saying he will, but I think he could start the game. It's not totally out of the question. He'll get maybe one training session tomorrow morning. But yeah, it could well happen. I wouldn't say I'm confident in the game at all. I think it's a really, really difficult game. I think we'll win. I think we will win. I think Birmingham will sit off us, like we've had so far in every game so far this season. I just don't have the confidence that we're going to keep a clean sheet. I think we have got that problem defending, certainly down the sides. Aylan and Hjelder have had a shocking start to the season. I'd imagine Byron will probably come into left back, but again, it's a right back out of position. But I think we'll win the game. I think ultimately, if we start Sinistera on the left wing, like we probably should have done against Cardiff, as soon as he switched onto the left, we looked a lot more threatening. The Somerville injury is a massive blow as well. And obviously, Nonto's definitely not going to be involved either. So we are lacking in depth massively. There's no doubt about that at all. I think we'll sneak it, though. I do think we'll sneak it 2-1, but it won't be in any way a classic, I don't think. I think it'll be a case of us trying to break down Birmingham attack versus defence. We might take the lead. Birmingham might hit back and then we might win it later on. But yeah, I seen Joe said 1-1.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm surprised,
a little bit more towards that. But I'll back us. I'll say 2. No, actually, you know what? That Nonto ones and Somerville coming out of the team, that's a big drop off in quality, that, to Dan James, the Pervader.
Yeah, but come on, mate. That's enough, surely.
I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think to Dan? I mean, obviously I'm Welsh, so I'm an admirer of Dan James. I mean, when he was at Swansea, I've got a few friends who are Swansea fans, and I remember, in the early days of him at Swansea, them kind of, proper bigging him up and gassing him up, and then obviously he nearly had that move to Leeds, and then obviously the old. It was on the documentary, wasn't it, where he obviously...
Yeah, he was basically signed. He'd done all like the shirt promo and all the Twitter promo stuff and all that lot, and then it didn't happen. But I think if we signed that version of Dan James back then, I think it would have made a much bigger impact. I think he was full of confidence at that point. He went too early to Man United. It was a big mistake in his career, that. I can see why he took that move. But yeah, it was far too early. He didn't really get a regular run of games. He wasn't ready himself, technically. He hadn't matured enough in his game either. He was very much head down, kind of just very much a vibes kind of player, where it was like, no real... He didn't know what was going to happen next kind of thing. Bit of an Adama Traore kind of vibe to him. Now he seems to have lost all that confidence in terms of carrying the ball and taking on a full-back. He can't really do that anymore. His end product's always been a little bit sketchy, but his end product's sketchy and his ability to take on a full-back is also sketchy. So he's not bringing a lot to the table. Yes, he gives you the runs in behind. He stretches the pitch quite nicely in that respect. He'll press from the front. But yeah, his game against Cardiff was shocking. He was better last night, but it's against Shrewsbury. Ultimately, if you're trying to get promoted at this level, I think you need more output from that side of the pitch. And I certainly don't think it justifies moving Sinisterra into the 10 to, allow Dan James into the team. I don't think it really justifies it at all.
It's mad, mate. I'd love him. I would love Dan James at Leicester. I really would. And I'm not just saying that because
he's nowhere near as good as Mavidi. I can't even pronounce his
last name. I'm not saying he is, but I mean, we've got no. I mean, as well as
you got Rek'Sai coming in from Crystal Palace again. It's a far better player than Dan James, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, true.
It's one of them. Yeah, naturally, when you're a fan of a club, you can only see either the good points, the bad points from a player. Really, we're always going to be naturally biased either for or against a player. He won't leave Leeds. I'm not asking that for 1 minute, but I think. I think it's a tall order to say that he can start 30, 35 games in a team that's pushing for promotion. But, we'll see. I just don't think there's enough end product there.
Yeah, so you went 2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds, just about.
I've gone 2-0 Leeds.
You think we'll keep a clean sheet?
Yeah, I'd rather you, obviously. I'd rather you lost. No offense, mate. It's not even. It's more towards Joe, to be honest with you. You know what me and Joe are like, and obviously, I mean, that first game of the season on that Friday night, Southampton. It was funny because my girlfriend was like taking the piss out of me because when like Sheffield Wednesday scored, I was like, oh, that's good, and she was like, it's the first game. Like, what are you getting excited for? So. But I'm just the mentality I'm in now. I'm wanting Leeds. I'm wanting Southampton, Middlesbrough. These teams that are going to be up there. I want them to drop points.
Yeah, I totally get it, mate. I totally get it.
But I think you'll win this one. So yeah, Birmingham 0, Leeds 2. Over to the Leicester game next. Obviously against Huddersfield. Huddersfield's first home game of the season, which historically I think it's the last 2 years or 3 years. Whoever Huddersfield have played in their first home game have gone on to win the championship. Did you?
I didn't know that.
Right?
How long's that been going on for?
3 years, I think. 3 seasons in a row. Yeah. So the last 3 seasons, it was Burnley, Norwich. Was it?
Yes. Burnley, Norwich.
Leeds.
No. Leeds.
No.
No. Burnley, Fulham, Norwich.
Burnley, Fulham, Norwich. So yeah.
That.
It's an interesting stat, mate. But yeah, I'm excited for it again. I mean, look, I get what people are saying. I know Joe's saying, whether he said it tongue in cheek or not, about Maresca ball ain't all that, and obviously we were lucky to get the win against Coventry. I'm liking it, mate. It's early days. Things are only going to improve, I think, as the players get used to it, and we obviously bring in better players. I personally. Look, there was some debate last weekend about Ndidi. Obviously, Ndidi's been playing in that advanced 8 role, which a lot of fans from other clubs have taken the piss out of, and rightly so. I think looking from the outside in, obviously thinking Ndidi, playing there.
It's not working. Yeah, that's a strange one.
It didn't work against Coventry. Obviously, Dennis Pratt came on and completely changed the game, mate.
I don't know why you don't just put Ndidi deeper. I don't know why you don't just do that.
Because. It's Winks and Ricardo, isn't it? They're playing deeper. They're playing in.
Yeah, but you can push Winks up a little bit. It's not going to massively change. Winks can at least turn on the ball a bit. Indeed he has to play the way he's facing for me. I think indeed he's a really good player, by the way. But I think it's like playing It's like for me, Man City playing Rodri in front of Gundogan. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It feels like it doesn't feel right to me. Like in terms of
I agree. Fit. I agree, because he's getting forward so often, mate, and he's slowing the play down a little bit. But I mean, he scored last night against Burton Albion. Obviously, good finish. I don't know if you saw it. Great. Finish.
Yeah, no, it was. He's still going to play well for Leicester because he's a good player. He's one of the best midfielders in the league. Arguably, he's one of the best. I know he's dropped off a little bit last couple of seasons compared to where he was at, but let's not forget this was a guy who less than 2 years ago was getting linked with Man United before Casemiro signed. So, constantly linked with Man United as well. So he's a really good player. But I think to get the best out of Ndidi and to really truly show his quality at this level, I think you've got to play him deeper.
3 years ago, mate. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a Declan Rice and Ndidi debate, and it was actually going on not just from Leicester fans. It was going on by quite a lot of when Man United were linked with Rice and stuff, and it was some Man United fans would say, "No, I'd rather Ndidi and all this." But the Maresca sees something though, surely, for him to be doing it. Like when you've got Pratt on the bench, I don't know what it is, mate. I think. Against Coventry, obviously, he struggled and it did slow us down a little bit. But like in pre-season, again, I know it was against, like inferior opposition, but he struggled.
What's the plan with Casadei then?
He'll be in that role, 100%, mate. Yeah.
So what's going to happen to Ndidi? You can't put him in. So I know you won't like this comment. You won't like this comment, but for me, Ndidi's a more complete player in that position than Winks. Not necessarily on the ball, but defensively, I think it's very risky. Going for midfields of Winks, Casadei, and the other one be Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, mate, but we're not relying on Winks defensively too much at all. We're really not. It's weird, mate.
Is that not because you've got Ndidi in front of him?
Potentially, yeah, and obviously we've got the back three, obviously it becomes a back four when we're out of possession. Obviously Ricardo drops back, but yeah, you're right. And Ndidi drops back when we're out of possession. Doyle obviously goes left back, Ricardo right back, and then you've got Ndidi then dropping back also to help out. So, but mate, Winks is vital. I know you're going to take the piss. Obviously,
No. He's a good. Listen, I'm not Joe Wayne. He's a good. I've always said he's a good player, especially at Championship level. He's a good player, but I think I wouldn't build a team around him in that respect. Listen, it might go on to be totally a really bad take this long term. I'm no problem with that at all. But I personally don't think he's quite at the level that you can build a team around him in that respect. But who knows?
Well, mate, there's nobody at the club that can do what he's been doing, as like the role he's in now, the role he's been playing in under Maresca. There's no one at the club that can do that role as well as him. And we saw last night, mate, when he came off, it completely changed us. He came off at don't know if it was like the 60th minute or something, mate. And for the last half an hour, we couldn't play out. We could not play out, which is a worry, if anything.
He's your most technical midfielder. I'm not doubting that for 1 minute. And I'm not necessarily saying drop him. I'm just saying I would personally think Leicester would be better off swapping Ndidi and Winks. I do personally think, as the season goes on, because it's all well and good it working against Coventry, but say if you play Southampton or a Norwich or a Middlesbrough, a better team, could that get exposed a little bit more? The fact that Ndidi's playing. For me, it's a bit like, say Jorginho playing holding midfield kind of thing. I just think on the ball, it's no problem at all. He's really good on the ball, but defensively, it can be got at a little bit. And I just think but ultimately, Leicester will still go finish top two. People might get angry at me in the comments here, but Leicester will still finish top two, even if you keep playing Ndidi where he is. It will still not be a problem. The quality depth is that big. I still think they'll be fine.
Well, this is it, mate. I think apparently Ndidi's one of these players that came out and said he wants to stay. But, does he? I mean, if you'd imagine if Casadei comes in and he goes into that role, into that advanced eight role, there's no room for Ndidi. He's going to be on the bench. Does Ndidi really want to sit on the bench in the Championship?
It's too good to do. It's too good to do that for me.
That's going to be a hit, to your pride. You know what I mean? Sitting on the bench in the Championship, crazy, mate. But for this one, I've gone 2-0 Leicester, which obviously, as I said, going on the stat, that would make Leicester champions at the end of the season. So, but no, I've gone 2-0 Leicester. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll obviously, again, I think we'll get a clean sheet, the first one of the season. So, I know we got one last night, obviously, but yeah, what about you, mate? What are you thinking for this one?
I've got the same. We match each other on 3 out of the 4. I just think it feels like a classic 2-0 game, this. I think Huddersfield will have a spell in the game, probably at first 10, 15 minutes, like a typical Warnock team. They'll go straight at you, be direct, but I just think Leicester will keep the ball that well. They'll force Huddersfield deeper and deeper. Be a little bit like the Sheffield Wednesday Southampton game, but I think Leicester will probably be a little bit more ruthless, won't make the same mistakes defensively, and I think probably a 2-0. I think it won't be like the most routine one, but I think ultimately it'll be a 2-0, and as soon as you get that first goal, it won't really look like you're going to sort of lose it. I just think it's a classic top 2 automatic promotion winning away performance at a team that's probably going to be mid-table to struggling this season. So 2-0 Leicester.
Yeah, both going 2-0 there. Just to say what Chris, obviously he's not here with us, but he did send me his predictions over earlier. He's gone for a 1-1 on that one. So he's back in Huddersfield. When I first saw the message, I thought that must be Brad, obviously the Huddersfield fan, but no, it's not. And I forgot to say as well, Chris said 3-2 Leeds for his prediction for the last one. All right, moving on now. So we're going to go to Stoke next. So I'm just trying to remember what happened last week. Ipswich 2-1 win over Sunderland, which was, well, I suppose you could call it a bit of a shock. A lot of people have backed Ipswich to do well this season, but Sunderland obviously playoffs last season. I saw George Hurst, the ex-Leicester striker, who's been, well, I think a lot of Leicester fans were just happy to see him go because every season he's on loan somewhere. He's just one of them players for us, so it was good to actually just get him out the door. And he looks like he's started well at Ipswich. What about you, mate? What are you thinking for this one then, Ipswich?
This is hard to call, you know. This will be a really good game. I really like Vidigal, who plays for Stoke, who's the new signing. It looks
they had a good start. They had a good start, Stoke.
Yeah, they have. I mean, I think he's got 3 goals in the first 2 games. I think he ran the game really against Rotherham. You know, I can only really go off highlights, but he certainly seems to run the game. And Stoke have made solid signings, and then they've added some flair on top of that in the form of Vidigal. But I think Ipswich as well, you know, I think they're going to be a good team this season. I'm not sure I'm as hot on them as what other people are in terms of saying top 6, possibly even top 2, some predictions have said. But I can't see them being that level. I think they're going to be probably top 10 this season and probably kick on the season after, you know, if they keep Kieran McKenna. But I think a 1-1 here. I think it'll be a really awkward game for Stoke. I think a 1-1.
Mate, I'm not taking the mick. I've got 1-1. I promise you. Mate, honestly.
No. I just saw your prediction on the last game. Thankfully, we're not matching on the last game. Yeah. I was scribbling them down before. That you can see there.
If Oscar does well this week, I'm also doing well. That's the main thing. But yeah, mate, I completely agree with you. 1-1. Like you said, I can't see them top 2. I mean, I suppose they could get top 6 at a push, really, couldn't they? But
yeah,
Stoke,
they could do that. I still think they're short.
Yeah. Stoke could be aiming for the playoffs, mate. There's so many teams this season that can make playoffs, and
I think Stoke are more likely. I certainly do. I think Alex Neil, he knows how to build teams at this level. There's no doubt about that. He knows how to build teams at this level. Stoke have got a little bit more financial. Well, they have got more financial power than Ipswich. Yes, they're a little bit tight on their FFP, but I think they can go for it more in January as well. Stoke, and I think he had them about 8th. I don't really quite had them in the top 6, but to be honest, I could change my mind on that a little bit as the season goes on. I think certainly, if they make a few more additions before the window closes and manage to keep hold of the better players as well, they'll have a good season, Stoke.
Yep, and moving on to the last game, mate, which we've included, Southampton Norwich. So obviously you've seen mine. I went 2-0 Southampton for this one. Norwich fallen off a cliff, really, haven't they? The last couple of years, obviously they were. You yo-yoers, you proper typical.
The epitome of it.
And then obviously with Dean Smith last season, it just didn't work out, did it? And he obviously got sacked in, I think, in October or something like that. And I couldn't. It's mad thinking back to it now. Really, last season when you think Dean Smith, he got relegated with Norwich, right? And then he got sacked by Norwich because he wasn't anywhere near the playoffs.
Mid-table.
And then he got hired by Premier League, FA Cup winners, Premier League winners, Leicester City, to try and keep them in the Premier League. I mean,
there was some consideration he might even get the job full. I don't think it was ever a serious consideration, but there were like murmurs he might get it full time.
After his, I'm glad that didn't happen, to be fair.
It's
obviously it's all hindsight, but I mean, Leicester was seriously considered with Jesse Marsh before Dean Smith came in, And now you've got to think, well, you never know. Maybe if we did go with Jesse, you don't know what might have happened. I mean, I heard stories last season about Jesse Marsh's inspirational speeches, and was it a documentary? A documentary?
Don't remind me.
It might.
Ted Lasso.
Can you imagine Jamie Vardy, mate, sat there in the changing room listening to Jesse Marsh?
I remember Jamie Vardy with Club Puel.
Yes.
I remember seeing that video where he should just. I'm not sure if I can swear on this show, but I won't do.
Yeah, you can say it. You can say it.
But it was an F off and a PRICK, you effing PRICK, basically.
When he was, I think we just lost to Man United. And Puel, the first thing he did was he went over to Pogba to have a nice chat.
Oh yeah. Wasn't there a rumour he deliberately missed a penalty as well as something to get Puel sacked? Was that like the game after all that game?
I don't know. I can't remember that.
I'm not saying he did. He obviously didn't. Jamie Vardy would not do that, but I remember that rumour.
Well, there was something like that, wasn't there? For was it
Steven Gerrard once had that rumour with Roy Hodgson because he skied a penalty into the second tier. I think that was Blackburn they were playing. They got absolutely battered and they got a penalty. And it's probably even worth YouTubing it. It does look suspect. In that context, it's like, yeah, that's quite suspect. I'm not saying he definitely didn't. It's Steven Gerrard, but it does look a bit suspect if you look at it from that narrative. Yeah.
But yeah, so Southampton, Norwich again. Like I said, I think Norwich have fallen off the cliff. But could they be pushing, the playoffs? Could they be looking for promotion now this season? What do you think about this one, mate? Obviously, I think you've still got Southampton in your top two. So, do you see them winning this one?
Yeah, I do. I think it'll be a really good game of football. I think Norwich will test Southampton. They'll have to go up another gear from the Wednesday game. But I think being at home will suit them better. They've got a bit more clarity on the Ward-Prowse situation, so they can probably bring in Shea Charles, who arguably probably suits their system even better. The fact that he's played in a Pep Guardiola or a Manchester City system, and that's probably a lot closer to Russell Martin's system than what Ward-Prowse was playing for prior to that. And I think Ward-Prowse is more of a end product final third player than he is kind of like a super technical midfielder. So, in a weird way, Southampton might actually, I wouldn't say benefit, and that's absolutely not going to benefit from losing James Ward-Prowse, but, where something bad like that happens, there is a bit of a silver lining, and they've already pre-planned for it, so I don't think it's going to affect them too much. I've said 2-1 Southampton. I think Rowe is a player to look out for from Norwich. I think he's potentially their new Buendia or Maddison, in terms of he looks a really, really promising talent. Lovely goal against Hull. I think he had some really sharp spells last season when he came on. For Norwich, he wasn't playing so much, but I think he had a bit of an injury as well. But again, was one of their bright lights last season. But yeah, I think the thing with Norwich is probably just lacking that goal scorer. Yeah, I think Ashley Barnes, from Pukki to Ashley Barnes, is a drop off in terms of goals. Yes, Barnes will probably give you more as an outlet in terms of holding up the ball, battling with the centre halves, and running the channels and stuff like that. Not that Pukki was any slouch in that respect, but I think that is the one thing Norwich lack. Southampton, yeah, in terms of they do like to move the ball about a lot. I think they had almost 1,000 passes in the game against Sheffield Wednesday, albeit Sheffield Wednesday just let them have the ball for 90 minutes. It'll be a different kind of battle for Southampton, but I think they're well equipped for it. I just think quality-wise will probably tell. So 2-1 Southampton. It'll be the best game of the weekend, that one.
Yeah, obviously not far off. Like I said, 2-0 Southampton I've gone with. It'd be interesting to see if Shea Charles comes in. Chris told us last week that Shea Charles was playing at centre-back in pre-season.
Yeah, I believe so, but I'd imagine he goes into centre-mid now, sure. He was only on the bench against Sheffield Wednesday, as was Joe Aribo as well. That Southampton bench was crazy. I know a lot of people are talking about the Leicester bench. That was also ridiculously strong. But that Southampton one was like, what?
So
it was outrageous.
With Livramento obviously gone, James Ward-Prowse looks like he's gone. If they, let's say, lose Shea Adams and Teller, do you think they'll be able to replace them sufficiently and still push on and finish top two?
That hurts them a lot more, because if there's one criticism of Southampton, they're a little bit short on depth goals-wise. I know Armstrong can do a decent job at this level, but I think it's a bit of a drop-off from Shea Adams. Teller's probably the one that really hurts him because he scored 17 goals last season. He looks immense, I thought, against Sheffield Wednesday, especially first half. He just had the Wednesday left back on toast, to be honest. And yeah, we know he's a good player at this level. There's no doubt about it. I'm surprised he's not playing Premier League football already. And you're almost thinking he was that good in the Championship last season. Surely someone's going to go in for him.
Surely. Why haven't Burnley got him?
Well, yeah, it's weird Burnley haven't done that. You think that'd be one of the first bits of business Burnley would do. They've also not signed Tyler Howard-Bellis, Burnley, again.
Yeah.
Even though he mentioned last season, which was quite weird. Whether Burnley is still having cash flow issues, I don't know. Some weird things are happening in the Premier League. Sander Burge has left to go to Burnley as well. So it's weird things. Whether Sheffield United might look at that situation and go, "Ooh, we could do with a little bit of craft in the final third," or a Luton maybe. It's obviously affording someone like a Nathan Teller, but they would have to lose both, I think, to have a big problem. Because let's not forget, even if they lose the player, they've still got replacements there. Even in the squad, in the transfer market. If they're going to raise 50 million on Lavia, they can soon sign someone for say like even a third of what they've got. On Lavia.
I fear Southampton is the club where Perot will end up, mate. If I'm honest with you,
it's a hard one because I think we've got a better chance now that we've kind of got some money back in terms of financial fair play, which I think is ultimately, we don't know this for sure. It's not being publicly announced or announced by a Phil Hay or someone on The Athletic, but it feels like it's an FFP issue at this moment in time. It feels like the transfers are starting to move when players are going the other way. In terms of, you're looking at 20 million for Adams, hopefully something close to that for Nonto, although he's probably dragged the price down himself by being
everything.
To be honest, there's no other way of putting it. Hopefully that helps us get Perot, but I think he's ambitious. But we have to be ambitious. We have to look at Hamer and Perot as signings we have to look to make. If we want to bridge that gap to Southampton and Leicester, we're not going to do it by not making signings like that. That's the only way we can do it. But yeah, I think the big thing with Perot is that Russell Martin link up. We saw it with Manning. Obviously we were strongly linked with Manning. He's obviously really enjoyed himself playing under Russell Martin. He doesn't seem to be enjoying himself as much playing under Michael Duff. I don't think he suits that style of play as much. It's a lot more direct, a lot more running. I think the one thing with Joel Perot is that he's a bit of the Championship Harry Kane. He's not the most athletic, but the way he strikes the ball, the technical quality is probably the best in the Championship in terms of the strikers, and it kind of suits us Southampton and probably suits the Leeds to a T really, where we're not really chasing the ball a lot because we have so much of it. But yeah, it's an issue for us, but hopefully it's one we can get done quite quickly. It's obviously a concern. I think Southampton, you've also got people like Ross Stewart at Sunderland, Cameron Archer, so it's not just Joel Perot and bust. Each team can get a striker and still have a really good striker, if you know what I mean. I think Ross Stewart, his goal scoring record minus his injury last season was absolutely immense.
Just to finish on, mate, just one quick question. We'll just talk about it because obviously the news came out today. Alex Scott going to be a miss or a big loss for Bristol City. It looks like
I didn't see this.
Yeah, Bournemouth. Alex Scott.
Oh wow! Yeah. Bournemouth are doing bits,
20 million plus 5 in add-ons, I think. What do you reckon to him, mate? I mean, do you see him kind of just cracking on now and going, probably 2 years at Bournemouth maybe, and then to a big club? What do you reckon?
He's a super talent. He is an absolutely super talent. He's quite. We don't produce a lot of players like him in England. Certainly midfielders. We tend to produce physical midfielders who box to box, high energy, not necessarily the most technical. That's what I think makes him really stand out. He feels, again, he's not a Jack Wilshere level talent. I mean, Jack Wilshere, when he was coming through, was like, wow, but obviously got done in by injuries. And I think that was the only issue for Jack Wilshere. But he's probably the most similar player we've had since sort of a Jack Wilshere, who can really take the ball and turn and super technical and just feels really well-rounded and complete. He's still got elements of his game to improve. He's not like a massive goal threat or a creative threat, but he's someone who he improves the midfield. I think it's a big loss for Bristol City that, although, having said that, for a team like Bristol City, getting into the 8 digits for a player, they can really reinvest that well. They can buy another centre forward, a winger, a number 10. They can soon build from that. I think for a Bristol City, losing a really crafty midfielder isn't going to hurt them that much. I can only compare it to when Leeds lost Lewis Cook to Bournemouth. Lewis Cook, super talent. In the end, it hasn't worked out for him especially well at Bournemouth. He's not been bad, But from that, Leeds got a big fee for Lewis Cook, or even could have got an even bigger one. They signed Pontus Jansson, they signed Kyle Bartley on loan. They added, who else? Kamal Roof as well. They added Pablo Hernandez. They added Luke Ayling just from the Lewis Cook sale. So for a team like Bristol City, who are mid-table, that kind of sale, in a weird way, can elevate you to all of a sudden pushing for the playoffs. And I think it might do, because you've got Nigel Pearson there. We're on the Leicester channel. We know how good Nigel Pearson is in the Championship. He's the one, arguably a top 3, top 4 of all time manager at this level, in terms of how good he has been. And he's done a solid job at Bristol City up to now. He might secretly be thinking, rubbing his hands a little bit, and thinking, oh, wow. Because I think if you're giving someone like a Nigel Pearson that kind of money, even if you only give him half that kind of money, he can really get you some big bargains there.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree with you, mate. He's got connections and stuff. I mean, he's the one who brought Riyad Mahrez, Anthony Konoko,
exactly.
to the club. Jamie Vardy, he brought Jamie Vardy to the club. So, but yeah, that's it for tonight. Obviously, thanks for joining me, Oscar. Much appreciated as always. Thanks for people getting the comments in and stuff. We'll be back next Thursday. Hopefully, Oscar will be here as well.
And then we'll have
brilliant, and we'll have Chris and Brad back as well for that one. Oscars, All East TV, the link is in the description as well, so check them out obviously this weekend. Hopefully watch the reactions to them losing, but we'll see on that one. But yeah, cheers all, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next Thursday. Cheers.